ask you a question. I'm curious, can you tell me a little bit about what is intuitive movement?
Absolutely. So, intuitive movement is using movement to find ways to tap into the signals that your body is giving you. Our body sends so much information to our brain. In fact, researchers have studied and found that our body sends sensory information to our brain at a rate of 11 million bits of information per second. That means we are gathering information from our sight, our sound, our taste, our touch, all of that kind of stuff. And it goes to our brain at a rate of 11 million bits of information per second. Now, take a guess at how much our brain can process per second of that 11 million bits of information. Take a guess. Give me a number.
300 million.
500,000. Yeah, there we go.
50
What?
bits of information per second out of 11 million. So our brains are only processing 0.0000046% of the information that our body is sending. And so intuitive movement is using movement to start to learn to tap into more of that sensory information that our body is sending. Our body is picking up on all sorts of things from the environment. And oftentimes our body is sensing danger. Maybe it's tapping into a memory. Maybe it just is stressing us out, things that we might not be aware of. And so our body starts to shut down. And that's where a lot of times our momentum stops. A lot of times that will tap into negative beliefs that we carry. Most of us carry negative, limiting self-beliefs from childhood. And so when we can use movement, we start to be able to tap into some of those signals that our body is sending us so that we can shift and navigate either starting momentum or continuing momentum when we feel stuck. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to invite you to do this with me. You can do this as big as you want or as little as you want. I'm all about movement. So I'm going to invite you to start with just a side-to-side sway. And just start by tapping in. You can do this at home, once again, seated or standing. And start to notice what's happening in your body. Notice what's happening with your toes, maybe your shoulders, your jaw, your gut. A lot of times when we feel tension, our gut tightens. When we feel relaxed, our gut untightens. Now I'm going to invite you to go front to back. And notice what happens when you go front to back. We all have one direction that feels more soothing to our bodies, one direction that feels more uncomfortable. For me, side to side, my body just feels like this ripple of wave. And when I go front to back, my shoulders start to tighten, my gut clenches. And so knowing side to side, or whichever direction feels more comfortable to you, that's what your body feels like when you're relaxed, when you can move. And starting to notice, even going the direction that feels uncomfortable gives you information that your body's starting to go into stress because you're tightening up, and that's what it feels like. And so as you start to move with that and even go side to side, front to back, and start to play with that, that gives you information. So for me, the going front to back, which is uncomfortable for me, tells me what my body feels like when I'm starting to feel stressed. And when I feel that tightening in my gut, my toes clench into the ground, my fingers will clench, then I start to realize my body's sensing something that is danger or something that I feel like is going to hold me back. And I can do something to shift that and navigate that in order to keep the momentum. When we continue on, when our bodies are feeling that stress or that overwhelm, that tension, if we continue down that path, that's going to put us into overwhelm and shut down and that stops the momentum. So doing some sort of physical activity, even something as simple as a side-to-side sway or front to back, whichever direction is more soothing for you, is a way to shift that energy in order to keep that momentum or to start that momentum. A lot of times, most of us who have those limiting negative self-beliefs, when those limiting negative beliefs get activated, we shut down. Our body just doesn't want to go anywhere near that. And so when we're trying to start momentum, overcoming those negative self-beliefs can be really challenging. So for me, one of my limiting negative self-beliefs is I'm unworthy. I have no value. And so when I start to feel that, something even as simple as a side-to-side sway relaxes my body, puts me into more of a state of I can connect to that inner sense of wisdom inside of me, letting go of that sense of danger and shift and navigate that forward. So that's intuitive movement.
Wow. Okay. So, moving and grooving is something that we should continue to be aware of all the time, right?
Absolutely. I always recommend people should be moving. One of the things I hear a lot is when people are stuck and frozen, they don't want to move. So trying to get that movement and that momentum going. And that's actually, our nervous systems are based on that. That's a way to protect us. So just know that's normal. If you don't want to move, that's totally normal. Your body's trying to protect you. So what I recommend is when you're feeling stuck or frozen, is even just moving one finger at a time. It doesn't have to be big. It's the actual act of moving. And doing something that's going to be one-sided movement and then the other is going to start to really open things up. And then you'll start to notice maybe you can do 2 fingers and then 3 fingers. And so just the simple act of movement releases some of that buildup of stress. Think about when you may have had a stressful experience, that angsty, emotional itchiness that starts to build up inside of you. A lot of times we as humans, we like to stuff it down because we don't want to feel it. We like to numb out. So we'll do things like binge watch TV or eat or consume substances, alcohol, those types of things because we don't want to feel those sensations. And so instead, if you can do some sort of movement, even just one finger at a time, that starts to shift that energy so you don't go into that numbing shutdown stage and allows you to start to move. One of the things that I love to do when I work with my clients is we imitate animals. All of us mammals, humans included, we have the same nervous systems. So if we can tap into our animalistic, our primal nervous system state, then that really can help us step out of the mental brainwashing or the mental programming that we have as humans to allow this sensory experience to happen, which can shift us and propel us. So I'm going to give one more move. You're welcome to do this with me, however much you want to do. This is one of my favorite ones. One of the comments that I hear from my clients a lot is, I don't get what I want, or I don't get to go after what I want. And so that's a big one that people feel stuck. So one of the things I love to do is, and once again, I'm going to invite you to do this to me, pretend that you're a lion. So sit in your chair. If you're a lion, how would you sit? You are top of the food chain. And as you do, maybe look around your space and imagine that you're looking out over the jungle. And notice how that changes. Your posture changes. My neck gets longer. I feel this kind of raw power inside of me when I do that. Now, imagine that you see something that you want. Your eyes lock on it. Lions go hunting. So you can stay seated in your chair, maybe just keep your eyes locked on it. If you want to go a little more, imagine walking after what you want. You're a lion. Notice how that big sense of power just goes with you, and then jump on it and pull it into you, and imagine that you get to now infuse your body with what it is that you want. And so as we do that, as we mimic animals, or as we play and take ourselves out of the mental stories associated with, I don't get what I want, versus I'm a lion and I can go after whatever I want, then it starts to shift and change and allows us to move forward in ways that we didn't necessarily expect that we were going to get to go, because our brain is telling us we don't get that.
Wow. I'm kind of honestly blown away, because as you're going through that whole experience, I can actually feel the energy shifting inside of me right now.
Even just thinking of being a lion, I noticed most of you, as you were doing that, your posture got taller, your neck got
Right.
longer. This raw power tends to infuse us when we can tap into that primal nervous system that we have, because we have the same nervous system that animals do. They just don't have all the mental stories associated with holding them back that we do as humans.
Wow. That's amazing. Holy smokes. I'm so excited and blessed that you're here to share this with everybody. Wow.
Thank you. So that's intuitive movement, is learning how to use movement to tap into those sensations, both the discomfort as well as the power, the ability to move forward, to shift and navigate. And I do it with play. I'm a child abuse survivor. And as I was healing on my journey, it just felt so heavy, and I got tired of the heaviness. And I wanted the ability to move forward and have some fun and some joy and let go of all these things that were holding me back, to propel myself forward. And play and movement became the best way that I found to do that.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for what an exciting kickoff to today's summit. Um, Please make sure that everybody who's been listening to this stay to the end, because I'm sure Angie has some offers that she'd like to give to you.
Absolutely. If you, I offer a free 30-minute session with me, so we can talk about how movement and play, and I can show you how movement can impact you specifically. So at the end, I'll drop the link for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie. I appreciate it. Little hand for Angie Berrett. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, everybody.